We don't know the exact details in this case that they've brought up in the Express, but across the country there is an issue with certain communities being more overrepresented in the data. But regardless of that, if there are grooming gangs in London, Susan Hall doesn't need to say a specific ethnicity. If there are any of them, Sadiq Khan should be addressing it and be concerned about it. And there, he's acting like a sort of, naughty kid in the headmaster's office, acting like a child.
We're going to come back to this, because this is the biggest story on all the front pages. There's a lot of Andrew here, but I think that we really do need to start talking about this happening in London, because, again, I think the way this has been handled by the Mayor of London is absolutely abysmal. And I think, if any of these accusations potentially are ever true, or these allegations are true, there will be political hell to pay for him. Well, I certainly hope there would be if anyone did that. But anyway, look, GBNews has approached the Mayor's office for comment. A spokesperson for the Mayor of London has told the Express this, though. The Mayor has always been clear that the safety of London is his top priority, and nowhere is this truer than the safeguarding of children. That's not... Anyway, there we go. Coming up, we've got lots more on the show. Of course, we've got the Late Show Live. Ben Leo's going to be joining me shortly, and we will be getting back to this. I will be playing more clips, and I'll be talking to you about the rest of this article. Stay tuned.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I was very lucky enough to be at the station today to welcome it in, be part of the group welcoming it into the station it's about 1:15 this morning. So I'm back down in London again now. It's been a busy old day. But yeah, I've been on that train previously on the main line. We took it out for a test run a couple of weeks ago, and we were in those wagons under moonlight. So this little engine pulled us along a branch line and under test, but this incredible replica train, a complete train, genuinely is a direct link with the past, and lets us understand a little bit what it was like to have technology like this at the time, and then showcase this phenomenal little machine and this train, these vehicles, how we can solve problems today, actually, and how far we've come, and shows the heritage of Britain's genuinely incredible railway network.
It is a pretty little train, actually, isn't it? And if you say that it can help you solve problems today, in what way? I mean, this, compared with that machine it is next to, it's incredibly primitive. So what can we learn from this little thing?
Well, I think that the same problems extend today as today, right? That we need to move people and things from A to B. And what's so lovely about seeing a machine like this, locomotion number one replica, of course, is that it genuinely shows us how someone thought, I've got a problem. How do I move coal and people from up there to over there? And actually the answer was railways. And so often today, the most efficient way of moving people around still is railways.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Of course, we're going to be talking about that massive bombshell story from the Daily Express who are accusing the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, of covering up the grooming gang epidemic in London. I've got a lot more to tell you about this because there is a lot of details here, including victims who have given exclusive interviews to the Daily Express and many more. But we will come back to it, so stay tuned because I think you're going to want to hear what we've got to say on this. But let's move on because, of course, in France, you might have noticed the other day, the authorities there are currently investigating a pretty old sort of bank heist-style robbery at the Louvre Museum in Paris, which saw a group of thieves escape with priceless jewellery on mopeds this morning. French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez says the thieves escaped with 9 pieces from the Napoleon and the Empress collection that are incalculable value. One item has since been found near the scene of the heist. Well, joining me down the line from Paris to discuss this incredible heist, one of, you don't hear about this anymore, do you, is journalist and author Peter Allen. Peter, thank you so much for joining me. This is the sort of thing you sort of cast my mind to sort of Mission Impossible, you know? You just don't think these sorts of things happen anymore. Can you tell us a little bit about what's gone on?
Well, it's absolutely incredible, really, Alex, as you suggest. I walked past the part of the Louvre which was attacked. I think we can use that word today. Pretty much every day, it's between my home and the office. And broad daylight today, just after the Louvre opened, would you believe, this team, let's call them a team, they turned up, 2 on a moped, 2 in a flat-back truck with a ladder leading up from it. They were wearing balaclavas. They were wearing maintenance jackets, you know, those kind of high-vis motorway jackets you see workmen wearing. They put their ladder up to the first floor of the Louvre, went up, broke the window, got in, and made straight to the Apollo Gallery, which contains really precious jewels going back hundreds of years in France, original jewels from the French royal family, which of course disappeared in the French Revolution of 1789. But then there was restorations, and Napoleon Bonaparte, his jewels are there, along with the Empress Josephine and the later Napoleon, Napoleon III, and his Empress Eugenie. And they got away with 9 jewels, pieces to begin with. They dropped one, would you believe, a crown, and that has 1,000 gems in it, and that was broken. That was the Eugenie's crown. Absolutely incredible stuff. I can tell you, Alex, I've just been speaking to the police very, very recently, and more details are coming out now. There were actually 5 security guards inside the gallery when all this happened. They made themselves secure, are the words I'm hearing. We don't think the robbers were armed, but I think they looked pretty menacing in their balaclavas, and they were holding tools which they used to get into the cabinets. And hugely successful raid from their point of view. They got in and out in 7 minutes.
Wow.
Disappeared into the Sunday morning traffic, haven't been heard of since. And the whole of France is looking for them now. And just as importantly, this jewellery, which again is priceless, be very, very hard to sell, but worth millions if they can get a buyer somewhere. There's some speculation they come from somewhere abroad and maybe trying to fence them off in another country as we speak. We don't know. Absolutely incredible scenes, Alex.
It is honestly one of those things, Peter, that when I read this story, I thought this possibly can't be true, because it's just something you hear from, like, you know, a movie. You know, 7 minutes, incredibly efficient. So they must have planned this all before. They must have got into the museum and had a look around and gone, well, we're going to do this, this, and this. It's a proper, you know, Mission Impossible style thing with a bit of an evil twist to it. What happens to these sorts of, you know, this jewellery, these rich historical artefacts? Because surely you can't just sell it on eBay, can you? You know, you've got to go through these sort of black market buyers. What sort of potential buyers would they be?
Absolutely right. Well, I've been speaking to experts here today, and I say experts because Paris is the world capital of stolen jewellery, of stolen art treasures. Horrible thing to say, but a lot of these kind of heists, they happen, not all the time, but certainly you might get 2 or 3 a year if you include the jewellery shops, which are broken into, millions of pounds worth of jewellery stolen. Art treasures are often stolen to order as well. The feeling with this one is these are clearly professionals. The Interior Ministry has been saying that, prosecutors have been saying that, they knew exactly what they're doing, and they could have been stealing to order. The likelihood is that they had a good idea that these are effectively France's crown jewels, ones that belong to the former emperor, the former empress. that they go back to the First Republic, Second Republic, and the like. And selling them would be extremely difficult, and that makes them think that it could have been some master criminal in and overseas, somewhere overseas, saying, I fancy those jewels around my house somewhere to show to my friends, to show off. And so it might be that. If they were smashing the things to pieces, of course, that'd be incredibly sad, but they would, of course, get something, especially for that crown, which had 1,000 jewels, but they dropped that, so they won't be doing that. But it sounds like these were highly, you don't like to glamorize criminals, of course they're criminals, but they knew that they were doing. They didn't hurt anybody. That's an important point to say. And we don't think they were carrying guns. We think they were big, burly robbers. There were 4 of them, and that they were carrying different types of weapons, i.e. they were carrying their tools, which was heavy machinery, and they were threatening security guards with them. But they'll be on the run now. We'll have to see. The first 24 hours are going to be absolutely crucial to see if they can be caught nice and early. But if not, I think we'll be talking about this for many weeks, months, even years to come.
I think you might be right, Peter. It's the sort of stuff you see Netflix documentaries made about, isn't it? And I hope we've got extra security on the crown jewels this evening. I can't imagine how well it would go down to see our royal family's precious jewellery stolen from the Tower of London or wherever else it may be scattered around. But there we go. Journalist and author Peter Allen, thank you for talking about this sensational story. It really, really is. OK, well, coming up on the show, we will be bringing you more information about that bombshell story regarding the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and the accusation from the Daily Express that he has covered up a rape gang epidemic here in London. Trust me, some of the details here are quite shocking. Ben Leo's going to join me. Me and him are going to discuss it. I will see you in just a tick.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, well, an unsettled picture across the central Mediterranean with heavy showers and thunderstorms and some stronger winds, but some sunshine elsewhere, especially for the Canary Islands, parts of Madeira and Spain and Portugal, with a few showers here, longer spells of rain then across parts of the central Mediterranean. Some of the rain is going to be heavy, causing some localised flooding with flashes of lightning as well and some strong winds, but there will be plenty of sunshine in between as well. We still hold on to a few showers though.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to our latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been quite a damp end to the weekend for many of us, and it's going to stay quite changeable as we head into the new working week as well. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the coming days. Weather front spiralling around this area of low pressure. And it's this cold front here that's brought us the rain through much of Sunday. That will continue to push its way northwards as we head through Sunday evening. Some drier conditions at first for a time across the southwest. However, plenty of heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, feeding into the southwest, bringing some strong winds, perhaps some coastal gales here as well. Quite a mild start to the morning as well across the very far southwest, temperatures widely in the double figures, and quite a damp start too across parts of Wales and southwest England, with those heavy blustery showers feeding in and pushing their way north and eastwards through Monday morning. We're likely to see some really quite heavy downpours mixed in here. Some hail and thunder can't be ruled out too. However, for parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England, much of Scotland, generally a drier and brighter start to Monday morning. Perhaps a bit of a chillier start too. Temperatures here may be dropping into the low single figures, though the far northeast of Scotland a little bit milder due to that cloud and rain that's still lingering here. That cloud and rain continues to push its way northwards as we go through Monday evening, but it's across much of England and Wales that we'll continue to see those heavy blustery showers spiralling around that area of low pressure, bringing us some strong winds too. Parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland faring best in terms of any sunshine through the afternoon, and with lighter winds here feeling pleasantly warm in any sunshine. But even in the south, even though temperatures are above average, it won't be feeling particularly pleasant with those showers. Tuesday starts a bit of a mixed picture. Anywhere that we see clear skies, perhaps a little chillier, some mist and fog in places, but showery rain feeding in from the west as we go towards the afternoon, though this generally not quite as heavy as we saw on Monday. It's then a mixed picture as we head through the second half of the week with further rain likely. However, temperatures perhaps turning a little bit colder by the time we get to the end of the week.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, joining me now ahead of the Late Show live at midnight is GB News' very own Ben Leo. Ben, of course, here we are dominated by one front page on the Daily Express here about the Mayor of London being accused of being embroiled in a grooming gang cover-up. Obviously, I really want to know what you've got planned on your show as well. And what's your reaction to this initial headline here?
Well, yes, massive story, Alex. I just wonder what President Trump would have to say about it. Of course, the president has been very, very vocal indeed about his good friend Sadiq Khan over the years, hasn't he? So I wonder what President Trump would have to say. I suspect maybe next week he'll be asked about it. Goodness me. I mean, it puts Sadiq Khan... That clip you played of Susan Hall confronting Khan in the London Assembly, I was absolutely stunned with... who's your lefty tonight? Is it Samuel? His reaction saying that Susan Hall should have been... Sebastian, sorry, should have been more specific in her question to Sadiq Khan. I've never heard a load of big hogwash in my life. Sadiq Khan, first of all, I don't know who votes for Sadiq Khan. I've never met a single voter in London who's admitted to voting for Sadiq Khan. Somehow he scoops up millions and millions of votes. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but big questions to answer, and maybe it could prove his downfall. It's a shocking story, and as I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what President Trump has to say about it next week if somebody dares ask him. Maybe I'll ask him. Bev's off next week, so it's just me in the hot seat, so I've got full control. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go and ask President Trump what he thinks of it, and I'll let you know next week.
That would be great, Ben. I would love to see that. I would love to see what President Trump thinks. And of course, as you said, they've got that infamous rivalry. What else has been going on in America, Ben?
Some big breaking news today, which we're leading the show on. A potential, not confirmed yet, but potential third assassination attempt on President Trump may have just been foiled. So full details in the show coming up at midnight. But there was a sniper's nest erected in a tree opposite the Palm Beach airport where President Trump's Air Force One aircraft lands with direct line of sight for a rifle at the door of the plane where President Trump walks out of. The FBI are involved. FBI Director Kash Patel has been talking about it today. The FBI keen to stress they don't know what the intent was for they're called platforms, stands, hunters' stands. So basically in the wild, if you go hunting for deer and so on, hunters will elevate themselves on these stands, these platforms, like mini tree houses pretty much. So they've got a better line of sight for deer and animals, and also they're camouflaged as well. Extraordinary pictures being released today of this stand right opposite Palm Beach Airport, and the concern is that this was potentially, again unconfirmed, maybe a third assassination attempt on President Trump being lined up. Of course, we have the guy who's just been banged up for a considerable amount of time for the Palm Beach golf course attempts, the guy who was hiding in bushes armed with rifles. And it was more than a year ago in Butler, Pennsylvania, when President Trump, of course, escaped with his life due to that. I mean, it was a miraculous turn of the head where the bullet grazed his ear. Charlie Kirk assassinated last month as well. And I fear now, off the back of this, I fear for the safety of the likes of Nigel Farage. Reform, of course, leading every poll going for the past 10 months. What would happen to Farage? What would the temperature be like? What would the rhetoric be like a year out from a general election, say in the elections in 2029? Say in 2028, if Reform are still smashing every poll going, I would really fear for the safety of Nigel Farage, especially off the back of reports earlier this month that Farage's publicly funded security detail had been slashed by 75% by parliamentary authorities. Again, no explanation as to why that was done, but Farage already having to pay for his own private security now. Why you'd strip him of his publicly funded security when we know what kind of a threat he faces? I mean, not just Nigel Farage, anybody to the right of centre, seemingly these days, has threats on their lives. Alex, it was only you and I, was it last week, a few days ago, I alerted you to that tweet, that death threat on X. So, yeah, President Trump, potential third assassination attempt, unconfirmed, but, yeah, big breaking news stateside.
Yeah, Ben, it's shocking stuff, isn't it? Because we are seeing this rise of political violence, and it's always seemed aimed, at least from what I can tell, at right-wing figures. And I think that's a very, very worrying state of affairs. We saw that, of course, not long ago, it was only, what was it, a year and a half ago, when before the general election, when Farage had a milkshake thrown over him. That could have been anything, right? And what did the left do? They laughed at it. They mocked it. They had stands set up at festivals so you could throw milkshakes at a cutout board of Nigel Farage. But, of course, when it comes to violence against the left, we have to take that very, very seriously, don't we? And we have to have massive inquiries about it. But when it comes to people on the right, then none of that is shown. That hypocrisy stinks, doesn't it? What else has been going on in America? Are we expecting to hear more from Trump? Because I was reading today, Ben, that Donald Trump is allegedly telling Kiev that they must give into this deal with Putin or be destroyed. I think that's on the front page of The Independent. What do you make of that? Is it all hogwash?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? We kind of maybe saw a turning of the tide with President Trump's administration and Zelensky in Ukraine. They were kind of after the barrage Zelensky got in the Oval Office in January. People accused him of being bullied, but the tone kind of shifted a bit. It was sort of more pro Ukraine, Zelensky, Kyiv. The pressure was on Putin after that failed Alaska summit, or was it failed? Who knows? I mean, the perception of it that it was failed, yes. But now, again, the tone seems to have shifted back. President Trump had a phone call with President Putin. They're due to meet in Budapest in Hungary for another summit. And suddenly, after Trump speaks to Putin, Trump is now putting the boot back into Zelensky, saying that Russia's going to need something from Ukraine. Zelensky needs to come to a deal, otherwise you're going to get destroyed. So it seems to be a bit of back and forth. The other extraordinary development tonight to do with world conflicts, of course, is that the ceasefire in Gaza seems to have been, excuse the pun, blown up in smoke, because the IDF accused Hamas of taking out 2 IDF soldiers with a sniper. So 2 IDF soldiers have been killed. And in response, Israel are now bombing Gaza again. So, I mean, that seems to, the peace in the Middle East seems to have been, gone up in smoke after, what was it, a week, 2 weeks?
Very, very short-lived indeed, Ben. I think this is why it's so important that the Late Show Live is here, because British people at the moment, we're on this knife's edge, aren't we? And I was saying this earlier on to the former NATO commander Chris Parry, who's brilliant historian and a brilliant man. It feels like we're on the verge of World War III. And I feel, Ben, I don't know what the message would be, and this is another thing I'd love for you to ask Donald Trump if you get the chance. What kind of influence does Keir Starmer actually have when it comes to foreign affairs? Because it seems to me like we had that back turn not that long ago on the world stage, massively humiliating for the Prime Minister. But it just seems to me that we're just so insignificant. If World War III happens, we're just going to have to go along with it, mate.
Well, I think, wasn't there a stat recently saying that we've had more small boat migrants in the last 2 years than we do serving personnel in the British Army? So that says it all. I'm not sure how many aircraft carriers are in use at the moment, but how much influence do we have? Look, I mean, I'd like to think we have some influence. We have soft power with the likes of the monarchy and so on, but in terms of physical military might, I don't know. I'm not a military expert, but we had the Israeli ambassador, the US ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, saying that the UK was deluded for thinking we had any part to play in the Gaza ceasefire. You had the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, pretty much saying that Keir Starmer, by recognising Palestine as a state, had hindered that peace process, emboldened Hamas, because, of course, Hamas said that one of the fruits of October the 7th was Palestine being recognised as a state. So early indications from a few weeks ago suggested that the UK, particularly the Labour government and Keir Starmer's government, were just being absolute menaces and liabilities to conflicts around the world. But then again, we had Steve Witkoff, the US envoy to the Middle East, coming out almost seemingly like Keir Starmer had asked asked him to tweet it, saying that the UK had played a decent role behind the scenes. So, I mean, that seemed very contrived to me, that tweet. But in terms of military might, I mean, I love my country, I love my nation, and I want us to put billions and billions more into the military, like President Trump's done here in the United States. But as it stands now, again, I'm not an expert, but it seems on paper at least, I don't think we're much of a military force. Could we go toe-to-toe with Russia? Could we go toe-to-toe with China if the United States weren't by our side? I mean, I love our troops, I love our military, I salute them. But when it comes to brutal, all-out warfare, I don't know.
I certainly concur with you there, Ben. Listen, I can't wait to watch The Late Show live tonight. I know it's going to be a bombshell show. There's so much to dig into with what's going on around the world. And, of course, we'd love to hear more of your thoughts on all of these breaking stories here tonight. Ben Leo there on The Late Show Live. We look forward to watching very soon. Thank you, Ben. Right, well, coming back here to the UK, Sadiq Khan, of course, accused of covering up grooming gangs in London. This is a national story that will not go away. It is plaguing this Labour Party, who have flip-flopped, of course, as to whether to have a national inquiry. There is some bombshell parts of this article from the Daily Express that I'm going to read out to you in the next few moments, so stay tuned, because we have got victim accounts here. And, of course, as the Express are clearly saying here, that the Sadiq Khan and the Metropolitan Police have both denied that there's been any evidence of grooming gangs ever existing in London. But what we're going to tell you here, and what I'm going to read out to you here, if it's true, would make that seem like, well, very untruthful, to say the least. Of course, I'm not accusing them of anything. We have to wait till the evidence comes back, but I want to know what you think of it, so stay tuned, and I'll join me back in just a few moments here on The Late Edition.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray,
are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation.
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Look, we've got to go back to the front page of the Daily Express. There's lots of other stories here tonight, but the most of the front pages on the other papers are dominated by Prince Andrew and that heist. Of course, we spoke about the heist tonight. We spoke a lot about Prince Andrew in this show, but I want to go back because this is very, very important. The Mayor of London, of course, has denied there are grooming gangs in London, and so have the Metropolitan Police. I just want to read some of the stuff out we've gone over in case you're just joining us recently, because I think it's very important that you understand where the Daily Express are coming from, why they're doing this, and I think it is the only front newspaper today that's really any different and very relevant to British people. Of course, just to go back inside the article, it says the Mayor and the Metropolitan Police have consistently claimed to have no reports of Rochdale and Rotherham-style rape gangs in the capital, with cards suggesting there was no indication they exist. However, as an inspectorate report has suggested, between 2026 and 2025, which the Mayor of London personally responded to, the Express found details of 6 potential victims. Now, the inquiry evidence here that I'm going to read out to you, and I've been telling you I'll read it out all evening, so I'm going to do it, is from that case. So a 13-year-old girl had injuries indicative of a serious sexual assault after being found with a group of older men. Men also tried to take her to a hotel, and she subsequently disclosed a number of rapes and sexual assaults. These are alleged stories in this report about girls in London. Another victim, a 15-year-old girl, attended parties with drugs, alcohol and older males after police took no action against males who sexually exploited her friends. A third victim, 17-year-old girl's life was at risk due to sexual exploitation and the risk of transmitting HIV. And another victim here, a 12-year-old girl, began going missing with a 15-year-old girl, leading to a police investigation into 2 males and a hotel. So that is some of the victim reports there. Now, there is also a victim statement that's been given directly to the Daily Express. I'm just trying to dig that one out to you now. But of course, this is damning stuff. So we've got responses here from Chris Philpley Anderson. Of course, this is a very, very public matter. A lot of these victims are remaining anonymous. Of course, here we go. Let's see if I can find this here. A Met Police spokesperson has also said they understand the very real concern the public have around so-called grooming gangs and treat all allegations of sexual assaults and offences and exploitation very seriously. The data shows the group-based child sexual abuse and exploitation picture in London is more varied. This is what I'm saying, is more varied than in other parts of the country and does not neatly align with patterns of methodology, ethnicity or nationality seen elsewhere and reported on extensively. Now, that is not what Maggie Oliver, who's seen these reports, who's, of course, worked for the Greater Manchester Police and resigned over this matter, has claimed. Chloe, what do you make of all these victim reports here? What do you think the story is telling us? And, of course, the Met Police are saying it's different and therefore may not class as a grooming gang. But really, the British public won't see any difference, would they?
Well, I mean, regardless of how you define it, and regardless of who exactly is perpetrating these crimes, if these, if those details you've read out, if they are true, that is absolutely harrowing, and Sadiq Khan should be taking it absolutely seriously. I mean, when you read those details out, Alex, that makes my stomach turn, and I would like to think that any human being with a moral compass would feel the same, but I feel like with Sadiq Khan that is not the case. He was completely blasé when Susan Hall questioned him about the grooming gangs, and what we're hearing in the Express is they are accusing him of reading those reports and then going on to say we have no indication of there being grooming gangs in London. That is despicable, in my opinion.
Sebastian, can I just read to you what the victim allegedly told the Daily Express? They've remained anonymous, but they were outraged. They said Khan and the Met Commissioners' continued denials of the trauma suffered by grooming gang survivors is gaslighting the survivors of some of the most unimaginably awful crimes by 2 of London's most powerful men. They should be ashamed. It's shocking that all of this evidence is on public record and that there is recognition that the issue of grooming gangs exists in London. For a mayor who positions himself as an ambassador for violence against women and girls justice, why would he so blatantly block the voices of these women survivors from speaking? What do you make of that statement?
Yeah, look, I agree with Chloe that those accounts of those attacks were horrible and awful to listen to, and I want to see those women believed, and I want to see the attackers face justice. We're in a bit of a holding pattern on this story at the moment because it's been published now, and we've got to push it forward. I want to hear from the mayor. We need to know his side of the story to this, really. Before we have that, it's really hard to say anything else.
Yeah, well, Susan Hall has tried. I mean, he didn't answer the question, but Paul, very briefly from you, response to that victim statement.
Yeah, harrowing stuff. And as someone who's read the transcripts from previous trials, I can tell you that underpinning those sort of rather banal statements are some horrific, terribly horrific things that have gone on and would have gone on in those stories. So my heart goes out to them. We need to do everything. I don't care who perpetrated the crimes, whoever it was, need to be dealt with correctly.
Thank you very much to the panel. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I know it's been a bit of a jam-packed show. GB News has approached the Mayor's office for comment. A spokesperson for the Mayor of London told the Daily Express this. The Mayor has always been clear that the safety of Londoners is his top priority, and nowhere is this truer than in the safeguarding of children. OK, well, there you go. You've heard it from me. You've heard it from the panel. You've heard my opinion on this. That's all we've got time for on this show. And up next is The Late Show, live hosted by the one and only Ben Lear. I'll be joining him just for the top of that show, so come and talk to me in just a moment and stay with us here on GB News.
Yes, I'm back, and what a day to return. Big breaking news in the United States this evening. Have the feds this side of the pond just uncovered a third potential assassination attempt on President Trump? And what does it mean for the likes of Nigel Farage and Reform UK? Also, all the latest on Sadiq Khan's grooming gang scandal alleged cover-up. Big show coming up. I'll see you in just a few minutes.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Yes, this is GB News. Up next, it's The Late Show Live with superstar Ben Leo live in Washington, D.C. Here he is. Ben, what have you got coming up on the show tonight?
Alex, good evening. Some breaking news this side of the pond, which I think has massive ramifications for the UK. The feds here, the FBI, the Secret Service have potentially uncovered what could be a third assassination attempt on President Donald Trump. Just a little bit of detail. I'll reveal all in just a few minutes, but as a snippet, there was a hunter's nest, a sniper's nest, erected in a tree bang opposite the Air Force One landing spot at Palm Beach Airport, where President Trump normally comes out the plane, and this sort of sniper's nest, there's extraordinary pictures which we'll show you, is in the direct line of fire. The FBI tonight saying, look, we can't confirm exactly at this moment what this is or whether it's intended for President Trump, but conjecture, the rhetoric, the fears are that this is a potential third assassination attempt which has been foiled on President Trump. Of course, after the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania more than a year ago, the guy who was hiding in bushes at the Palm Beach golf course with rifles, he's just been banged up for a very long time. But my question is, Alex, my fear is that if the likes of Reform UK keep polling as they do, of course, leading every poll going for the past 10 months by some margin, they've got all the momentum at the moment. If that's the case in 2028, 12 months out from an election, will we start seeing these kind of threats aimed at the likes of Nigel Farage and indeed other politicians who are polling quite high? Let's talk about the Greens and Zach Palensky as well. I mean, arguably it's going to be aimed at Nigel Farage, isn't it? But that's my fear, because political violence, death threats, we saw it with Charlie Kirk a few weeks ago, the other month, assassinated for sharing ideas. And my big fear now, if this is potentially another assassination attempt forward on President Trump's life, I fear for the safety of our own politicians, Alex, in the UK.
I certainly agree with you, Ben. Of course, we saw Madhupassa, the illegal migrant from Afghanistan, recently sentenced and put down into prison here in the United Kingdom because he made similar sort of death threats on TikTok. It's not just British people you've got to be worried about here in the United... unlike America, where it really is Americans sort of taking out Americans, we've got the threat of illegal migrants in this country, many of whom we know are exceptionally dangerous. They're making very emboldened death threats and things like that on TikTok, of all the places, Ben. And, it takes someone like Nigel Farage to be taken seriously, which is good because they have taken this seriously, for it to get dealt with. But you do wonder, for the likes of other commentators and big voices on the internet, whether the police and the authorities would do such a good job of it. Because Nigel Farage has got that I'm glad to see that these things are taken quite seriously and the justice, the hammer does fall down in the courts of justice. But I'm really worried about this sectarian violence, the rise of sectarianism we have in the UK here. We've got, of course, the Israeli football fans banned from coming to the UK, essentially, coming to the football match because of the violence maybe threatened against them too, Ben. Lots to dig into.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, it was Nigel Farage who had his publicly funded publicly funded security detail slashed by 75% by Parliament just a few weeks ago. So, and goodness me, breaking in the last couple of minutes, President Trump has just boarded Air Force One very quickly using the small stairs due to increased security measures. Of course, that comes off the back of this potentially foiled assassination plot. More to come on that imminently. A big 2 hours coming up on The Late Show Live. Strap yourselves in. Let's do this. Hello, good evening on The Late Show Live tonight. Another assassination plot. In breaking news tonight, the FBI investigates a possible sniper's nest with a direct line of sight to President Trump's plane door at Palm Beach Airport. Just how safe are our political figures, including the likes, as I just said to Alex, of Nigel Farage in the UK? Because don't forget, this was our own Prime Minister just
Well, I do think it is a racist policy. I do think it's immoral.
And breaking tonight.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just fully what's a misunderstanding. What does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that.
Oh, what would President Trump say? A potential sticky wicket for Sadiq Khan because London's mayor tonight has been accused of a grooming gang's cover-up in the capital. Also tonight, Randy Andy's in a whole new world of scandal.
I've questioned myself as to why did I go, what was I doing, and was it the right thing to do?
This for the monarchy. More documents related to the prince's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein are set to be released in the US after Democrats vowed to deliver justice for the victims. Cops are also involved in the UK. And breaking tonight, Israel renews its ceasefire after the IDF accuses Hamas snipers of killing 2 soldiers. Israel has responded with a wave of airstrikes across Gaza. Well, it didn't take long, did it? Is peace in the Middle East already over? We'll be diving headfirst into the stories from tomorrow's newspapers and, of course, all the breaking news from inside those papers, hours before they hit the shelves. Also tonight.
With all due respect, have you been to London the last 10 years? Men can do whatever they want. I live in London. Are they happier?
God bless you, Charlie Kirk. Chaos at Oxford Union as a no-confidence vote is launched against the president-elect over his comments on Charlie's murder. His best friend, Charlie Kirk's best pal, joins me live very shortly. And of course, we're live in Washington, D.C., just yards from the White House, bringing you the stories America's talking about and that matter to Britain too, including this cracker. And it's a cracker indeed. What do you reckon? Is that real footage or AI generated? We'll have all the details why President Trump shared that clip on Truth Social and why the left are losing their minds. I'm Ben Leo. This is The Late Show Live, and we've got a big night ahead. All right, joining me tonight in Washington, D.C. is the US commentator and Democrat Party strategist Bob Weiner and the Daily Mail's US political reporter Victoria Churchill. Good evening to you both. But first of all, breaking news today coming from America. The feds have just foiled what could be a 3rd assassination attempt on President Donald Trump. The US Secret Service have uncovered a suspicious hunting platform placed in a tree, pretty much a sniper's nest, with a direct line of sight where President Trump exits his Air Force One aircraft at Palm Beach International Airport. The hunting platform, or hunting stand as they're more commonly known, are used by animal hunters to give shooters elevated positions and a better line of sight. FBI Director Kash Patel told Fox News tonight, prior to the president's return to West Palm Beach, the US Secret Service discovered what appeared to be an elevated hunting stand within sightline of the Air Force One landing zone. No individuals were located at the scene, but the FBI has since taken the investigatory lead, flying in resources to collect all evidence from the scene and deploying our cell phone analytic capabilities. Secret Service Comms Chief Anthony Guglielmi said the authorities are so far unable to provide details about the specific items found in the tree or the possible intent. A law enforcement source told Fox News Digital the stand appeared to have been set up months ago. But the investigation comes, of course, weeks after Ryan Ruth was found guilty of attempting to assassinate President Trump at a Palm Beach golf course from a sniper's nest he set up in bushes along a fence line. And more than a year, of course, after this moment, which I argue undoubtedly won President Trump the election.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
So we've had Trump taking a bullet to the ear, escaping with his life thanks to a miracle turn of the head, and another nutcase recently jailed for a second attempt to take him out. And let's not forget Charlie Kirk's assassination last month either. Who knows what this hunting platform was set up for and by who? But what's clear is the threat against President Trump still persists and is very, very real. And when you're making progress and delivering promises like this administration is, the payoff is that people literally want you dead, which is why I'm growing ever concerned for the safety of Nigel Farage. Reform UK have been leading every poll for the past 10 months, and it was only a few weeks ago we learned Farage's publicly funded security detail had been slashed by 75% by parliamentary officials for what Reform UK called inexplicable reasons. So when the likes of Keir Starmer calls Reform's immigration policies racist, Farage the enemy, and says calls for a national inquiry on grooming gangs are a far-right bandwagon, let's just remember what that very serious consequence of that kind of language could be. And of course, let's not forget David Lammy's ludicrous U-turn on his Hitler Youth barb aimed at Farage earlier this month. Because make no mistake about it, if Reform are leading the polls within a year to go until an election in 2028, in the same fashion they are now, I have no doubt that far-left radical lunatics will literally be baying for blood. Well, let's get the take of political commentator and host of Spot On with Link Lauren. Link Lauren, good evening. Thank you for your company. Really shocking developments tonight stateside to do with this potentially third assassination attempt on President Trump's life. What's your take on it? Anything else that you can add to this, this growing story?
Well, it's great to be back with you, Ben. The details are still developing right now. According to FBI Director Kash Patel, they discovered a hunting stand that was facing where Air Force One lands in Palm Beach. So this is not good. I think the overarching issue here is that President Trump has been so dehumanized by the left. They're constantly trying to take him out. And all of this political violence, all of this political extremism is stemming from the left in general. We saw what just happened with Charlie Kirk on September 10th. He was barbarically assassinated. President Trump has had multiple assassination attempts. In fact, one of them was down in Palm Beach via Ryan Ruth. So this is going to continue, unfortunately, but we have to give respect to the Secret Service, and I'm grateful that they found this, but it's very concerning because President Trump is a father, a grandfather, and has an entire family.
Yeah, Link, beyond all the political stance and where people stand, the same with Charlie Kirk, beyond his position on things, I think, as you said, this kind of rhetoric about people being Hitler, being Nazis, being far right, I mean, in the case of Nigel Farage and Reform UK, I argue they're not far right. We just had 3 genuine far right potential terrorists banged up in the UK for plotting a massive terror attack. I'll give more details shortly, but they are the real far right. When you come to people like Nigel Farage, President Donald Trump, when you call them far right, I mean, what does it do in the minds of those sort of massively far left lunatics who think, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll be taking out the next Hitler if I take this out? Is that the kind of train of thought they have?
Well, absolutely, and we've seen this for years. The left continues to call figures on the right fascist, Hitler, Nazis. I don't think President Trump is Hitler because he just freed Israeli hostages, all right? He's a friend of Israel. He's a friend of the Jewish Americans, Jews across the world. So I think calling him Hitler is not going to stick much longer. But this is what they continue to do. They call you Nazis, fascist, Hitler. They try to dehumanize you, and they also try to validate their horrific behavior, right? They try to validate their violence. And there are even polls that show many on the left think that political extremism is okay if you're taking out a figure that you deem to be threatening your rights. This is not the country we should be living in, where you're taking up arms and conducting political violence like this.
Yeah, and some breaking news in the last 15 minutes or so, Link. Fox News are reporting that President Trump has already been taking reactive security measures. He was just boarding Air Force One, reportedly very quickly, using the small stairs due to this incident in Palm Beach, this discovery. How do you think this will change things henceforth? Do you think this will just be a temporary reaction, or do you think the administration, there's some pictures now, look, of Trump boarding that Air Force One plane very quickly. Do you think this administration will be stepping up security for the long term?
Well, I have such respect for the Secret Service. I feel like they have incredible security. President Trump has amazing security around him. The Secret Service are amazing. So I don't know if this is going to be a long-term solution. I'm not sure what's going to happen because it just broke an hour ago before I came on here. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a breaking and developing story. Link, whilst I've got you down the line, can we talk quickly about something else that's absolutely embroiling the UK at the moment, which is the Prince Andrew Jeffrey Epstein saga. What's your take on it? There's calls now that he should be stripped off his prince title. He's still knocking around in Royal Lodge in Great Windsor Park. I mean, I argue he should be kicked out of there straight away. But this threatens to kind of bring massive doubts and questions to the very monarchy itself, I argue. What's your take?
Right, so when I read the letter, it seemed like Prince Andrew is going to relinquish his titles for now, or he's going to stop using his titles, I guess, to ingratiate himself or further himself in his career financially. But it's interesting, he does continue to live at Royal Lodge and have some of the, spoils and trappings of being a royal. What I really think we need is to strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their titles. They haven't been around in about 6 years. They left in January of 2020. Why does Meghan Markle continue to use her Duchess of Sussex title? She continues to call herself Her Royal Highness. She is using her title to sell jams, jellies, and dog biscuits. Okay, I want Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to have those titles stripped. I feel like when Prince William becomes King William, he is going to strip some of these titles and thin the monarchy out to people who actually work for the Commonwealth and work for the people. Okay, not these hucksters in California.
Yeah, and linked. You know what? It was the late Queen Elizabeth who specifically told Harry and Meghan, I do not want you making commercial gains off the back of your royal links. And I argue, I've said for years as well, and no one's been able to answer me this, but you had Meghan Markle who, if you take her word, she said that she was a victim of racism in the royal family. She said she wanted to take her own life. Such was the horrendous experience she had as a working member of the royal family. I mean, God forbid, a life of luxury. But when you've been through that kind of experience, the worst time of your life, you wanted to take your own life. And that's no, by the way, that's no sort of, barb at her. But if she actually felt like that, why would you then want to continue using your royal links, your royal titles, the HRH, all these little sort of gimmicks? Like, did you really have a bad time? Because if that was me, and I think for most other people, I'd want to forget everything about what happens during my time in the royal family.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Meghan Markle, she went and did an interview with Oprah where she accused the royal family of racism. She said she had a horrible time, that they were working her to death. She had no privacy, no safety, no security. She wanted to take her own life. But now that she's been in the U.S. for almost 6 years, she is using her title, the Duchess of Sussex, where, she spent 5 hours in Sussex, but she continues to call herself the Duchess of Sussex. She
I'm
uses
from
that
Sussex.
title to yes,
I've never seen her in
spent
Sussex
a lot
in
of
my
time
life.
there. I think I've spent more time in Sussex than she has on trips. So Meghan Markle, she calls herself the Duchess of Sussex, and she uses that title to sell jams, jellies, dog biscuits, and go to Balenciaga fashion shows. Not once has she worked for the British people in 6 years. Has she done anything?
Yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, it has to be said, of course, Prince Andrew's scandal is much more serious than Harry's and Meghan's. I mean, I think Harry and Meghan are a couple of a treacherous pair, to say the least. I mean, doing your family over like that in public is pretty dirty in my book. But Prince Andrew, the saga rolls on. It's not looking good, and it's also dragging his wife Fergie into it, and indeed Eugenie and Beatrice, the princesses. Link, before I let you go, let's just go back to the old story quickly. Eric Trump, President Trump's son, has tweeted on this potential assassination attempt in the last few minutes. I'm not sure if we can get that up very quickly. He's basically suggested that, here we go, it's coming on screen now. He's basically suggested that this, he's praised the Secret Service for doing a great job. He's not gone as far yet to say it's an assassination attempt. I guess he wants to wait for the full investigation, but he said, quote unquote, hunting stand for all the whitetail on Southern Boulevard, located directly across the street from Palm Beach International Airport, in the median of a major highway directly facing the Air Force One stairs, 200 yards away. And Eric Trump, of course, has got a new book out in the last couple of weeks called, I think it's Under Siege, which details how the left went for his father. They tried to jail him, they impeached him, they went for lawfare, they tried to kill him. So what must the family be thinking tonight after this potential third assassination attempt?
Well, I'll go back to what I said earlier. President Trump is a father, a grandfather. He's also the father figure of the country. The president, no matter if it's a Republican or Democrat, you are a father figure of the country. But he's been so dehumanized by the mainstream media, by these radical Marxists on the left, that they're going to do everything they can to stop him. And they've tried multiple times with Thomas Crooks, Ryan Ruth. Now this situation in Palm Beach with the hunting stand that's facing Air Force One. This is not a good situation. So I pray for his kids. I pray for his grandkids. This family has been persecuted and prosecuted. They've ginned up bogus lawsuits, and he's come through all of it. So I imagine President Trump is not going anywhere anytime soon, thankfully. Thank God.
Yeah. Well, the Democrat on my panel tonight, Bob Wiener, has been laughing and scoffing all through this, so I'm going to be tackling him on that in just a second. Link, where can we find the Spot On show?
You can find Spot On YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and he is welcome to scoff at me because I do not know who that is. So I wish that man well. And I don't know if he's even an American citizen.
Good man.
So I wish you well, sir. God bless. Mwah. See y'all later. I'm out.
He is. Bob Weiner. Link, thank you very much. Appreciate you, and we'll catch up soon.
Yes.
Thanks, Link Lauren, host of the Spot On show, which you can find on YouTube and all good podcast providers. Right, I'll get stuck into Bob Weiner and, of course, Victoria Churchill in just a second. But first, coming up.
The Democrats are kamikazes right now. They're kamikaze pilots right now. They have nothing going. They have no future. They have incompetent candidates.
President Trump slams the Democrats over the government's latest shutdown. But first, we'll have all the latest on that top story where the Met Police are investigating claims that Prince Andrew asked a bodyguard to dig up the dirt on Virginia Giuffre just before that key 2011 photo of them together, the alleged photo, which Andrew denies, surfaced in public. Andrew denies all allegations and gave up his royal titles this week, but is there more to come? What should happen now to Andrew? And what a crisis, I argue, for the monarchy. Back in just a tick on The Late Show Live.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you regret the whole friendship with Epstein?
Now, still not.
Oh, he's going to be sweating tonight, isn't he, after the latest revelations? Or maybe not, if you believe Prince Andrew, he can't sweat. More on that developing story shortly. But for the time being, let's go back to that developing story tonight. After a suspicious hunting stand, a sniper's nest pretty much, was found nested in a tree with a direct line of sight to President Trump's Air Force One aeroplane in Palm Beach. The FBI saying from 200 yards away, this platform in a tree, which had been set up for months reportedly, had a direct line of sight to President Trump's door on the plane, which he leaves from and walks down the stairs. Could this be, it's unconfirmed, but could this be a third assassination attempt on President Donald Trump, which has been foiled tonight? And I'm arguing as well, what happens in the UK 12 months out from an election if Nigel Farage, who has been subject of many, many death threats before, if Farage and Reform are still leading the polls 12 months to go in the UK, will he be facing a similar threat? Well, let's get the take of US commentator and Democrat Party strategist Bob Weiner and the Daily Mail's US political reporter Victoria Churchill, who join me live in the studio tonight. Hello, you two. Thank you for your company. Right, Bob, you were laughing, you were scoffing and sniggering at Link Lauren in that previous segment. What's your take on this?
Well, first of all, thank you for the mug, and thank you for bringing them from London.
Straight back from London. Just let's get into the serious stuff first. No paper cups, but GBNews mug straight from London.
Let me just cell phone analytics. You know, I have a deer stand in the woods where I live, 20 minutes from Washington.
Yes.
If they had maybe walked around the airport in a concentric circle and looked around, it wouldn't have taken them a couple of months to find it. So that's a little ridiculous to me. And of course, there's no debate.
Hang on. Let's talk about the stands. So these aren't very well known in the UK because I think very few people go and hunt deer. Right. So it's a platform in the tree, which people elevate from. They hold rifles. Okay.
But this one was aiming right at Air Force One's landing steps, so that's where it becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
But how do they not find that? The same thing as it took them a while to find the thing in the golf course. So, you know, walk around, look, the thing on top of the roof, how do you not find that? So we got some flaws in our, but it's the same thing on Capitol Hill. I walk around and they have arches where all the VIPs go through, and I keep telling people, you know, that's dangerous. It is dangerous.
So you're slamming the Secret Service. You said that they should have found it months ago. I mean, they've uncovered it.
They should have
they found the guy in the bushes on the golf course.
They did indeed, but here, didn't we just hear that it's a couple months that it's been there, that the sand was there?
Potentially.
So that's ridiculous. That's number one. Number two, nobody wants an assassination attempt on anybody, but quit with the saying it's a left. It's because of the rhetoric of the left, which your commentator said, which Eric Trump says. What happened to the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys who injured 150 cops on January 6th and 5 died? What happened to that? This is not a right or left. It is not a right or left, and it's not a right or left rhetoric. It's everybody's rhetoric.
Well, let's talk about, I don't want to talk about January the 6th, but those coppers, those police officers died of natural causes.
No.
The only person, Bob, who was shot dead on January the 6th.
Heart attacks.
No, the only person who was shot dead on January the 6th was who? A Republican MAGA woman. I've forgotten her name. God bless her.
Yeah, she was breaking into the Capitol so she could shoot Congress people. Tough.
So she could shoot Congress people.
That's exactly right. That's what she was doing.
She was the only person who was killed by law enforcement. Yes, and that's why the Capitol cops protected. I don't talk about
Harry Dunn says that the cops were heroes, the Congress people were hiding, and she was breaking in, and it's a disgrace that she got that $5 million settlement.
Well, there's videos doing the rounds, which I saw even yesterday, or today on the plane over here, of police officers welcoming people into the Capitol on January 6th, saying, "Come in, come in."
Why create a mess?
Right. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about the assassination attempt potentially on President Trump.
Yes,
Victoria, your take on this? You broke this tonight, didn't you, just before Fox News?
Yeah. Well, they beat us by about half an hour, but we got it up right after them. And Katie, I think, pulled the picture that we use with the circle. So thanks, Katie. I'm sure the folks back in up in New York and back in London will appreciate you using our graphic from that. But you know, I'm gonna actually disagree with Link and agree with Bob on Secret Service. I think they have lapse after lapse after lapse.
Right.
I was not directly in Butler, but I was there the day after because I was covering an event about 45 minutes away, and I interviewed some of the neighbors whose properties backed up to that Butler Farm Show grounds, you know, who said that they were never contacted by Secret Service kind of outside of the direct perimeter of that rally. And I've also sat in hearings in Congress where they've investigated the Secret Service. You know, Rand Paul, he's one of the main guys on this. You know, he's one of the main guys on this. Rand Paul is of Kentucky. He's not one of Trump's favorite Republicans, probably one of his least favorite Republicans. But, you know, I think Trump actually does appreciate the investigations that Paul has been leading on this to figure out how the Secret Service is having lapse after lapse after lapse. And, you know, in this time of heightened political rhetoric on both sides, members of Congress want, you know, additional protection. They had some additional funds appropriated before the August recess here a couple months ago because they feel threatened.
But they don't want to come back because of Epstein.
Well, and, you know, again, I've actually got her name here. Of course, we had in Arizona the special election with Adelita Gravalha. She can't be sworn in because Congress is currently out of session, so they can't have a swearing in for a member of Congress.
Okay, Eric, I mean, you both have, you know, you've critiqued the Secret Service there, but these guys work with the Trump family for many, many years. President Trump says some of them are indeed like family members and very good friends. Eric Trump has just tweeted in the last hour or so saying the Secret Service did a great job finding this. And Bob, I'd like to know what you think about.
I would have found that deer stand.
Well, maybe it wasn't set up. Maybe it wasn't set up months ago.
And
maybe
by the way, the other thing I
suggestion.
think that's really stupid, Ben, let's tell everybody what the details were so the copycats can do it. I can't believe the detail that they're going into with the specifics of this thing.
Well, I mean, I think you're clutching at straws maybe there. I mean, surely it's an alert to make other people aware that potentially what could happen. I want to talk about the UK. I argue the likes of Nigel Farage, other leading politicians in the UK, are facing the same sort of threat that President Trump does here? Because I'll say it again, if you're 12 months out from an election and Reform are leading every poll going, I think some very deranged people will do anything they can to stop it.
Well, I agree. I like Nigel. I've been on his show half a dozen times. And to cut his security funding 75% is nuts.
Yeah,
that's
why did Parliament do that?
Of course, if he's leading as it appears that he is, of course he should be approved for extra Secret Service control, as we do with presidential candidates in the United States.
Victoria, your take on the UK situation? Of course, we don't have guns in the UK, but there's access to guns.
You know, I wish actually the UK had the Second Amendment, and I wish more states in the US actually followed the Second Amendment as it's written, unlike how some state legislators have legislated it, because I think regardless of how secure of a force you have, whether that's hired or assigned to you, you know, I think at the end of the day, you are your own protector, and that's why, you know, not so much on this show, but on other media that I do, I'm constantly advocating for the Second Amendment to be as it's written. And, you know, like I said, I do wish that the UK had it because people that want to cause violence.
Do you wish we had guns in the UK?
I do think
I mean,
so,
I don't.
Oh,
I mean, I'm very...
But you like the Second Amendment here?
I love the Second Amendment here.
The numbers of deaths are way higher with the places that have guns. Way higher.
I'm very pro-gun in the United States, only because the guns are out anyway. The horse is bolted, and the quickest way to stop a mass shooting is by being armed yourself. If every bad guy on the street has access to a gun, I'd like a gun as well. But we don't have that in the UK, so I don't want to push a button in the UK